Back on Jacket Sports Weekly, I'm Terrence Saprosky, and today I'm joined by first-year baseball head coach Perry Cunningham. Thanks for joining me today.
Thanks for having me.
And started off, you spent the last 14 years as the assistant / the pitching coach for this team. So what kind of adjustments have you had to make turning over to being the head coach of this team?
Yeah, I think that when you're the pitching coach or you're any positional specific coach, you just have a small portion of the roster to worry about. And now there's a lot more that goes into just coaching one group of players. Not only do I feel responsible for the entire roster, but then there's all the organizational things, in addition to just planning for Florida. But now we have all the behind-the-scene things that happen, pretty much day in and day out moving forward. So not something that I've done before, but something that I'm adjusting to.
And you have more control over the team this year, obviously, like you mentioned. What are you most excited about or looking forward to the most about being the head coach here at Waynesburg?
I think just the opportunity to put my own stamp on it. There's certain things I think given my experience, given my history, that I have a different outlook and a different perspective on certain things in our game. And again, when you're an assistant coach, you kind of stay in your lane. You focus on, again, that group of players. Now, I will say that Coach Humiston allowed me to kind of put my own stamp on just the pitchers. But that being said, I've been able to implement some things moving forward that, again, just try to change our direction a little bit as far as what our guys that have been here for a while, what they're used to seeing, whether it be during practice or in the games.
You've had a successful playing career, Davis and Elkins College, and professionally in the Frontier League. So what are some things you learned in your playing career that you want to implement to this team at Waynesburg?
I've always tried to be a pretty even keel coach. I try to be an even keel person, and I think that's the culture of professional baseball. There's not the yelling and the screaming coach and the degrading coach, because it's a little bit different at that level, where if you're not good enough, they'll just get rid of you. And I'm not suggesting that's the philosophy here, but I do think that you can kind of get your point across, and you can still mold young men without being the yeller or the screamer or the degrader.
And going off of that, thankfully I was able to make the trip down to Florida with you guys to broadcast the games, and two things that I noticed especially was kind of the professionalism from the team. The one tweet about the team going to Chipotle and how nice and polite the team was, and then whenever we went to McDonald's that one night, the whole team walked by and thanked all the workers. How important is that off-field stuff to you?
To me, it's just as important as on the field, if not more. Ultimately, what we're trying to do is we're trying to mold. I always say, even going back to my pitching coach days, there's nothing more fulfilling than seeing an 18-year-old college freshman that comes in, works, develops, grows in all aspects of their life, and then leaves campus ready to tackle the world. And so if we act a certain way in life, then hopefully, as a team, then those characteristics will carry forward to our guys individually in the real world.
And in that trip to Florida, the team went 2-4, possibly could have went 3-3, that controversial call versus Calvin. But what were your initial thoughts about the team's performance?
I think it's kind of twofold. I mean, if you would have told me we would be 2-4 coming back from Florida, I would have probably told you I would be disappointed in that. I felt like talent-wise, we have a much better team than 2-4. With that being said, looking at it through the prism of early in the season, still have a lot of freshmen and sophomores in the lineup, who you're competing against. And one of the things that I asked the Russ Matt Florida guys is to pair us with teams that, while a lot of the records were similar to ours last year, some of those programs, Wartburg in particular, I think they'd been in the World Series several years ago. So, they're traditionally strong programs. So seeing how we competed against those teams, I was pleasantly, shouldn't say surprised, but I was happy. Again, maybe we didn't get the outcome, but I felt like we go to Florida trying to figure out some different things about our roster, seeing guys in different situations, and ultimately we were able to accomplish that goal.
And you did mention the young players for your team, sophomores like Nolan Vertullo, Mike Bell, Justin Clevenger. In Florida, we saw a lot of freshmen, Alec Inglemore and Aiden Williams. So how big of a role do you think this young core of players is going to play for this team this season?
I don't, there's no reason to think that what we saw in Florida isn't going to really be how our season plays out. Not to say that some of the other guys won't get opportunities, because they will, But all in all, those guys, especially those younger guys, stuck out to us as coaching staff for a reason. And so many of them didn't do anything in Florida that suggests otherwise for us. And so, I would expect to see those guys to be big contributors in the lineup moving forward.
And you can't talk about Waynesburg baseball this season without talking about one person in particular, and that being Corey Fisher. He got his first start on Tuesday, pitched extremely well versus Concordia, got that save on Saturday. So what can you say about him that people might not know or that they should know about Corey?
First I'd say that, and I told this to somebody else, I didn't, they asked me what my expectations were, and I just said, I don't know what my expectations were, but whatever they were, I wasn't expecting what we saw. But how you saw Corey pitch and the fact that he fought, almost literally, I'll say, the passion that he brings to the field, that's the same passion that I know that he's, taking to his medical fight right now. And so I don't have any doubt that he's going to, be victorious in his medical fight. But in the meantime, too, let's face it, he's our returning pitcher of the year as a team. And so now that we have a little bit of a better idea maybe what we can get from him, I think, again, as a coaching staff, he was a question mark before the season. But now if we could plug him in certain situations and a certain role for us, I think that just makes our team that much better.
And last question before we wrap up. Florida trip's over, back in Pennsylvania. The first doubleheader is this Friday versus Wilson. PAC play starts on the 22nd. So just simply, what are your expectations for this team for the rest of the season?
I think our expectations are just to keep growing. And, part of what we wanted to use Florida for was to give our guys an opportunity to get their feet wet, get their feet underneath of them, get their timing offensively, get some reps in the field defensively. But coming up north now, we're going to play on a lot of turf fields. So maybe some of those balls that we kicked around, we feel better that they would be outs. But with that being said, our expectations are pretty simple. With it, we just want to win. If we're talking about baseball on the field, then our expectations are to win and make the postseason tournament, and then see what happens from there.
Definitely a positive outlook for the baseball team this season. Unfortunately, that's all the time we have. Thank you again for joining me for the interview today. And thank all of you for watching Jacket Sports Weekly. Come back next week for a new episode right here on WCTV.